Hey guys, and welcome back. So today we are going to talk about how to know if Hekate is calling you. This was one of the main questions that I get on my channel is how do I know that Hekate is actually calling to me? And there's a few different answers really when it comes to this question because we got the most common and then we got personalized. And personalized can only be determined by yourself. So when it comes to those personalized experiences, you've got to kind of ask yourself, what feels right to you? Does this feel like a calling? And as we go deeper into this video, I'll explain something that you can do to see if she is calling to you, and we'll go in from there. But what are some of the signs that Hekate is actually calling you? Well, one of the most simplest signs is seeing 3. 3 is very symbolic for Hekate. She has 3 faces, the 3 phases of herself, which is the maiden, the mother, and the crone. She tends to have domain over the land, sea, and sky. She is a goddess of the crossroads, the 3-way crossroads to be exact. So, some people I've heard say that, when they were little and they were in certain places, like a 3-way crossroad, they always felt some kind of energy. It was almost like magic would enter their heart and joy, and like this creepiness all at the same time. And, as they got older, they got the calling of Hekate, and they were like, hey, this makes sense now. One of the things, too, is, being a child, you'll look back on your life, and you'll realize the little subtle things that Hekate will use to call her children. And it's not until you follow the path of Hekate that you start to see these symbolisms. And one of the things for me in my own personal journey is being drawn to both the dark and the light. And it's kind of like having that, middle part, like where you want to be the hero, but you also like the craziness of the villain. You know what I mean? To be able to see both sides of the coin and appreciate what both aspects can bring. And that's kind of like how Hekate is, because she is not favorable towards one or the other. Now, a lot of the people will associate her for her dark aspects or her underworld aspects, which kind of brings on this, macabre view of Hekate and who she is. Now, am I saying Hekate doesn't have a dark side? Of course not. She is both dark and light, but doesn't favor either. At least that's how I like to see it in my personal practice. Another thing that comes up pretty frequently when it comes with, going into memories of like childhood is that you've probably seen spirits. Not all spirits have been good. You might have seen demonic faces. You might have seen things as a child that you couldn't explain. You might have heard certain voices which has connected you with the spirits. And this is kind of like what I call the Hekate training process, is because it gets you used to the things that were, as some would call, ooky spooky as a child, to allow you, when you get into the practice with her at the age that you discover her, it's not so weird to see or to hear things and to acknowledge them a lot more. So that's kind of why I call it the Hekate training process, is that you've always been in tune with the other side. Now, another thing that comes up, especially, with childhood, is the calling of nature. Always wanting to be in nature. Always feeling like there's something more. You can feel the energy from it. Now, some would say, well, Hekate is not an earth goddess. Well, if you think about it in the context of the Greek, land, sea, and sky, she is. And for me and my journey, I've always felt connected to the earth. I've always loved being in the water. And I always look towards the sky to get my answers. You know what I mean? It's kind of been a thing for me, so it always kind of made sense to have that association with her as well. Now, when we're speaking in the context of the present day, there's a few other symbolisms that come about when it comes to working with Hekate. One other thing is keys. You're either going to be drawn to keys or you keep seeing key symbolism in your dreams. And most people will have a lot of dreams about Hekate or a hooded woman or following someone around a cave and seeing an altar placed. And sometimes it's hard to tell what is a dream and what is you being called to. But if you start to see this repetitiveness in your dreams, like I said, such as keys or dogs or following this woman down a certain path, then it's most likely Hekate calling to you, because she's kind of like dipping your toes in, so to speak, light symbolism. Now, if we're talking about full in your face symbolism, you're going to hear her. You're going to have her name popped up. You're going to have people who follow her coming up to you and talking to you. And you're going to be like, I keep on hearing about this woman Hekate. Who is she? I want to know more. And then as you start diving in, you start getting this feeling of like home. And it's hard to describe because it's not like home in the sense that, hey, I'm going home for the holidays. It's like feeling like someone's taking a weighted blanket and wrapping it around you and holding you tight. That's the kind of feeling that you will get when, you start getting to know her and who is she? What is she about? What does she do? And as time progresses on, you might see more symbolism of her. Like, one of the most things that I hear from like older followers of Hekate is that they had a need to plant things that were poisonous, or they always, as children, wanted to play with something that they shouldn't have, but it was a poisonous plant, and it wasn't until they got older that they realized the symbolism of using poisonous plants with Hekate, and the symbolism that they bring, which, I think speaks true to all of us, because we all, as kids, remember that one moment where we're like, oh, don't touch that, it's poisonous, or this or that, you know what I mean? But we have to do it to try it, you know what I mean? It's like something calls us like, oh, you need this right now. And it's almost like a guided, witchy intuition that's being guided by her. Another thing that I hear people say is that they'll hear a woman talk to them, or they'll start waking up at 3 a.m. and they'll either hear a woman speaking in the room, or hearing keys jingle, or just feeling like someone is watching over them. And these are very common when it comes to working with Hekate, from what I found from, other people that I've talked to in my own practice as well. And another thing that people get drawn to is the triple goddess symbol. And, as far as the triple moon goddess symbol, there's many goddesses that people associate with that symbol. But it does seem to have a correlation of the triple aspects of Hekate and that feeling of mother, wanting that mothering energy, craving it almost. And it kind of confuses people. It's like, well, I'm getting this mothering instinct coming on, and, is it, I'm either grown or whatever, but I feel this, like, this one symbol just calls to me. And then if we talk about Hekate symbol herself, if you look at it, like really look at her symbol, it almost looks like a maze. Which, to me, I was always fascinated by mazes as a child. So I also associate this with Hekate. To be able to go into the darkness, not knowing where I'll end up, but having the bravery to continue to do so. And to me, this is always kind of like one of those things where, it's personal signs. And that's kind of what I said in the beginning. Like, you're going to have personal signs that make sense to you. And whenever I look at Hecate's symbol, it always reminds me of like a labyrinth. Like, there's so many places that you can go into. And with the circle with it, even, like, to me, that's the circle of completion, the cycle of death and rebirth, and to bring everything together. And when I work with her, and if you guys have seen, I think there was a video a while back, or it might be in our clips when you first go to our channel, you'll see a little sand bowl with like crystals that I had in it. I use that during my trance work, where I'll sit there and take either like a skewer or, you know, a small pen or something like that. And when I'm in trance, I will make all these different shapes and stuff with that. And that's my representation for herself as a C. Now, if we talk about animals, you know, when it comes to animals and it comes to any pagan path or any spiritual, magical path, animals, it's kind of hard a little bit unless you have other symbolism to kind of bring it in. And it kind of goes with the other symbols as well, because I think that's where it gets confusing for people, because they look up who has symbolism of dogs, and the next thing you know, you got like 30 gods or more from like 6 different pantheons, and you're like, ah! So, you know, I totally understand when it comes to like being confused. But when I say dogs, I say 3. If you see 3 dogs within your dream, then you know it's Hekate, so Mota B. And that's the rule of thumb that I follow. And another thing that people don't really talk about openly is the doors that will appear to you. I've heard of people seeing 3 doors, 7 doors, 9 doors, and seeing 1 key in the middle of like this room. And I'm thinking about actually doing a meditation on this aspect. And when they go to get the key, they got to find out which door it is that leads them through that path, and it becomes a whole thing. But, you know, when we're talking about personalized experiences with Hekate, how do I know she's calling me? Well, you've got to see it like this. If you feel like there's something that you're connecting with her, like let's say some people do associate pomegranate with her because she's in the underworld, and it is something that is present within the underworld. Some people might say, I'm seeing pomegranates, but then, you know, you got other people saying, well, pomegranates is for Hades and Persephone. So, you know, it's how you symbolize the connection between you and this deity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always the same cookie cutter. You're going to see keys or you're going to see dogs. Like, sometimes you get the in your face, hey, I'm here. Nice to meet you. Won't you come work with me? You know what I mean? Like, she's either going to be subtle with it, depending on the type of person you are, you know what I mean? Or she's going to be right in your face. Like, okay, I've been waiting long enough. Now, me personally, when I work with Hekate, I see frogs. I see snakes, and snake skins is a beautiful offering for her as well. Now, if you're kind of wondering, like, well, what can I do to confirm? This is what I would suggest. First off, I would get into a meditative state or a trance state. Trance is like being able to zone out while you're doing something. And as you're doing it, or if you're meditating, you're going to ask or pose the question of, is it you, Hekate, that is calling to me? Now, you can ask this before bed. You can do this in the morning. And I'm going to tell you the different ways that you're going to know if it's Hekate. So if you're doing it at night and you start having dreams talking about the symbols that I talked about, that's going to be your clue. Or you might have her actually physically appear to you. Now, if you have her physically appear to you, most common image that we see of Hekate is a 3-faced Hekate. But that doesn't mean that she's going to appear to you as 3 faces. That's where symbolism comes in. Majority of the time, People only see her as one entity, okay? So don't be thinking you're going to see some three-headed lady. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to doubt it. Maybe experiences are different. But from what I've got, from my research, from the people that I've spoken to who follow her, no one's really seen the three faces. Now, they have seen her in three different stages. So, like, one time you'll see a young woman, a middle-aged woman, or an old crone. So, it's almost like, hey, I am all these in one. And I think it's a symbolism for life. You know what I mean? We have the three stages of life, and that's kind of what calls us. But, so I would definitely look into your dreams, see where you're at. Like, focus around your surroundings. Most people, when they have dreams, they focus too much on the storyline of the dream rather than the surroundings of the dream. So what I would tell you is once you pose this question to Hekate, then I want you to not focus so much on the theme of the dream, like, and all that. I want you to focus on the symbolism around that dream. Okay? Now, if you're in the waking day, let's say you do morning meditation, morning trance work, one of the things that is going to be easy for you is that you've got a whole day period that you can go throughout your day. So what you're going to do is kind of like the same thing that you're going to do within the dream state. You're going to look for symbolism. You're going to look. It doesn't even matter if, like, as soon as you get on your phone, the first thing that you see is from a Hekate group that you've been either just joined or whatever. That's one of your signs, okay? So the next thing will be like someone having a casual conversation with you, and they say something like, I feel like I'm at the crossroads of my life. Symbolism right there. Or if you see a black dog running mysteriously as you're driving down the road, and you drive down this road every day. Symbolism. And then you can take the step to start a working relationship with her. Now, don't get freaked out, okay? And think, well, what if I start working with her and it's not right for me? That's why you start a working relationship, not a dedication. There's a difference between practicing with a deity and dedicating your life to a deity. And I feel like that gets lost in between. So just remember, if you ever feel like when you're starting a relationship with Hekate and you don't feel like it's right to you and your path, then do an ending ceremony with her. Be like, I thank you for the guidance that you've given me and the clarity of mind, but I don't feel like I'm appropriate for you in this path. Give her an offering, leave it at the crossroads, walk away. It's not going to be anything painful. It's not going to be like, oh, she's coming for you now. No, it's you realized it wasn't perfect for you, but she opened your eyes to something that maybe you didn't think about or even know about yourself. And that's kind of like one of the things that I love about Hekate is that you hear a bunch of people saying, hey, I work with Hekate, but I keep on seeing symbolism either from the Norse or the Egyptian pantheon or Slavic pantheon, or I've got an African spirit coming to me. And most people are like, I don't understand this. Like, am I doing something wrong, or am I meant to be with them and not Hekate? Well, here's the thing, baby. Hekate has the ability to open you up to learn new things. Every culture, every pantheon has its purpose. Just because she helps you go down that path doesn't mean that that's your only path, unless you choose so. That's kind of where the free will comes in, you know what I mean? So when you're working with her, keep in mind, she will open you up to a world of possibilities because she is the mother of magic. She is a mother of the unseen. She is a mother of the forgotten. And you'll be directed to certain things. If she wants you to learn something, like let's say she wants you to learn sacrificing something for knowledge, she'll take you to Odin, just as an example, right? Because there's a whole story of where he hung in a tree and his eye and the whole thing, right? So keep that in mind, that she will always guide you to what's going to help you in your spiritual journey, not just what is convenient for her. It's not all about worshiping her as far as like you always got to work with Hekate, ... No, she allows you to be open. She allows you to explore because she is a magical knowledge. And if magical knowledge can be gained by working with a certain deity or a certain pantheon, then she's going to open that doorway for you. And then you might even have other gods and goddesses come forth at this point, and you'll be like, I just don't know what's going on. And that's kind of how I interpret it and how I see it in my own journey. So just kind of keep that in mind, you know what I mean? Like, if you're feeling a calling for Hekate, the best thing I can tell you to do is research Hekate. Learn all you can about her. And do little simple, meditations with her. Or do an opening ritual with her. Or if you're looking for knowledge, ask her to help guide you. And, the more that you work with her, the more that you get this bond with Hekate. You grow, you learn, and you expand as a person and spiritually. So hopefully this video has helped some of you guys in realizing, what to look out for if Hekate is calling you, along with acknowledging you gotta follow that intuition, okay? If it feels like she's calling to you, then most likely, 9 times out of 10, she is calling to you, my dears. So always remember, no two witches which is same, and make sure to hit subscribe and hit the notification bell for all notifications. Till next time, bye.